So you were already accomplished before.
Yes, I was doing art festivals and entering shows and started winning prizes. I was still working part-time.
Right.
And I had someone approach me from Partners in Art, ask me if I would want to teach classes.
Joan.
Mm-hmm.
So Joan was at art.
One of her friends, one of our
Exhibit,
mutual friends said, geez, Joan's looking for a watercolor teacher.
So this is like, but they were just in that one spot, right?
They were
whole
actually,
street didn't
they
even
were
look
actually
like this.
here.
Right.
But
it was a smaller version of the store now.
Yes.
So.
And to learn to teach, well, I had this opportunity to teach.
Sure.
And to make money not just in the summer, but to teach all winter, in my mind, and make
huge.
some money. Yes.
Were you getting requests all the time outside of Joan asking you to do this? Like people are like, hey, you're awesome at this.
No, but I had an immediate response with the public at the shows that they loved my work. People were always coming in to see my paintings, and they could relate to them or they made them happy or whatever.
Right.
So it was just crazy because... I had this opportunity to teach, and I'm like, I never did this. I don't know what to do or what to say. I'm in my studio, and it's a solitary life.
I know. I deal with communicating that now. It's difficult. But as you progress in teaching, it's awesome how you have to clarify. It's like being a writer, right? I have to clarify this thought, this emotion, this narrative. And by clarifying this, I am teaching myself how to communicate more fully and more articulately and better and clearer.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
That's the truth. Yeah, and I physically did that. I brought my paints to the art festivals.
Wow.
And I started painting out in front of my tent. Just so someone would come up to me.
Oh, you did that as a means to an end, so you learn how to.
So I would know what to say.
That's super
so
smart.
I would get some great questions,
right.
And I could talk, and they would watch me, and I would tell them what I was doing, and then the words started coming, and because it just and a lot of things when I painted in the beginning was just an accident. Something would happen, it would turn out great.
Wait.
What did I do?
Wait, you mean seminal art that you did was just like happenstance? You were like, oh, that's great, and then you would build off of each successive
Well, maybe one was working out really, really nice, and then something great happened, but I don't even know what I mixed to get it.
But don't you think that's the nature of watercolor? You've been drawing since you were a kid, right? You had to be, right? This is just like you picked up a pencil and you just went.
Yeah, and then I left it behind for a really long time. So because I became a teenager and there were so many more important things like boys.
Right.
I got married young, had children. Yeah. So I had a family and I was too busy to draw. So around 34, I decided I was going to go back to school for interior design. Went back and started drawing again.
Now, interior design kind of ignited the creativity?
It did. I worked full time. I had my family. I went to school at night, and I'd come home and have to do homework, but I would put the music on and be in my zone and do the rendering. And I fell in love. I absolutely fell in love. And then I went into interior design, and I wasn't in love. So I went back, and I told my husband, I said, my real passion is I feel content and meditative, and my pure happiness is when I'm drawing.
And now the coloration on this is watercolor.
That is watercolor.
So this started as a quick rough, as a pencil sketch?
I hand draw everything. Sometimes I will do freehand or use a grid, depending on how much I really need it to look like somebody.
This, too, this is incredible. There's a sense of depth and then this really delicate sense to her skin.
This is that piece, so when you're a kid and the sun is shining and you just look up in the sky, you forget about everything, and maybe you spin.
Yes.
That's that. That is just stopping that moment, taking it in, enjoying the warmth of the sun.
Because this isn't you just replicating something. This is you. This is like this expressive,
there's
beautiful.
There's so much more that goes into it. I work a lot with people who lost someone, whether it's a pet or a person. And it's not taking a photograph and copying the photograph. I want to learn about that person, so we look at several photographs. They share stories about them, whether it's a pet or a person.
And then not only are you taking that image, but you're also translating this message that everybody's kind of given you.
And the fact that you're just hand rendering it brings life to it. My life, my drawing, my energy has gone into that drawing, that portrait, which in itself gives it energy and life. And when I can give somebody that, and that's amazing. They share that with me, My job's incredible.
So how did you get interested in art?
High school, and then I really haven't done anything since high school. Jody was doing a trip to Italy, and a friend of mine was going on the trip and needed a roommate. Right. And I figured, well, when in Rome, so I bought a travel paint kit. And I started painting. And
You're kidding. So just to go along with the... So you went and you were doing these beautiful landscapes through Italy, and then you come home.
Right.
And now what?
That was in May, and then the classes, Jody's classes, started up in September, and I started taking them then.
And Jody's...
Jody's magnificent.
Yeah, helped you immensely, right?
I'll look at something, and I can tell it's not right, but I have no idea what's wrong with it. And she will say, your anatomy's wrong, or you need... put a yellow on there or a pink or whatever.
Right. So now the portraits, that's kind of where you ended up.
Yeah. I tried doing people I know, and that's a little difficult because I want them to look on paper what I see.
Well, sure.
My heart, but it doesn't always work out that way.
Caricatures.
Right.
No, right.
But no.
It's a hard thing to do, right? Because it's interpretive no matter what you do. So now the painting behind me, what was the inspiration for that?
I started it probably a year or so ago. And I didn't know what to paint, so I thought I'd go through pull out some stuff from out underneath the bed and see if I can tweak it.
Is that what this is? Is that under
that was
the bed?
under the bed thing. And
is it completely redone? Did you start from scratch, or did you?
No, I just kept tweaking it more and more.
Well,
let's do it over.
Yeah, I've been surrounded by artists my whole life, and it seems like the more you get into a piece, the more their fear takes over at some point. You know, with a lot of people, unless you're working in like oils where you can keep fixing it. But watercolors is tough because it's down, and you got to remove it, and you got to play with it.
Yeah, you got to play with it a little bit, and I do like that. I mean, I did the painting for the church and stuff like that. I knew. That came right into my head what I wanted. I knew I wanted Jesus in the front and the 3 crosses in the back.
Now, the other painting that we have here, can you tell us a bit about that? How long did that take you? Was that that wasn't a single? That doesn't look like a single.
I would say a couple classes, maybe. And I worked on it a little bit at home. There were things I didn't like, so I tweaked it a little bit.
Are there moments where you're just like, you just want to go home and paint?
If I do get time and the sun's shining right and there's no other demands on me, I will start painting.
Those are special moments, sure.
And that's what I kind of like about it.
Yes.
That excitement, that energy, that movement, that flow in a watercolor.
Yeah, just let it go.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what I really love about this medium. I think every other medium you have to physically push it to make it
coerce.
Happen.
Right. Yeah.
And this, if you're willing to let it go.
Yep. So how long was it before you discovered your love of watercolor? And is that your primary medium?
Watercolor is my primary medium.
Now, this, which we'll show, is just an incredible image. And what I love about it is I am pretty enamored with we've talked about the comic art and the line art, but I love, this Parisian thing that you have going on here with the people. And it's just beautiful.
Thank you. I love it too.
The way that it's exactly like what drew me to this when I first saw it. I was like, this is gorgeous. And the light and the way that you've kind of just took the gradient,
right in,
the gradients up, but this and the depth of this, it's just incredible. So, but this technique, is it difficult with watercolor to do that?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there's been a few things that have kind of made this happen, but recently I have been able to let go of definition and detail.
Okay.
And it's something I've struggled with for years.
So you worked for a GM?
Yes.
What did you do at GM?
I worked on the production line.
No kidding. And for your whole entire career? Or
for 30 years.
Where did the floral design come in?
Well, before I worked for General Motors, I worked as a floral designer.
Okay.
So I worked in various shops and stuff like that, and I had my own shop. And
you had a shop. So while you're at General Motors, you had a side business.
Right.
So, and you're also on the Williamsville Board of Art?
I'm actually the vice president of the Williamsville Art Society.
Art Society. Now, you've been painting for how long?
I've been painting probably since I was like 14 or 15.
Wow. What drew you to it?
I don't know, I just liked coloring and doing stuff. I like creative things.
It plays into the floral design, right? Color, tactile. I'm going to feel it, touch it.
Handling the stuff, playing with it, you know.
Was it typical doing just pencil drawings? And then
I mostly did oil paintings and acrylic.
You started in oil?
Yes. I didn't really do a lot of watercolors until I saw Jody on TV. And my sister-in-law was taking a class with Jody and said, would you like to take a class? And I said, yes, I'd love to. And then when I found out it was Jody, I was like in shock. I'm like, oh my God, she's like a TV star.
Right, that's the lady. Yeah, and I mean, this is gorgeous. The way that you have the shadow here, to me, that almost looks a little oil influenced. And then there's this awesome wash on the back.
Yes, I learned that from Jody. Just put it down and let it just flow.
That's great, though, right?
Otherwise, I probably would have, painted each individual tree.
Because that's your oil training, right? You're just like, I have to get this.
So sometimes you have to think, differently when you're doing watercolor.
And this is the same thing. This is almost like, to me, this just looks, I feel energy off of this piece in a way.
Yes, we did that one in Jody's class. We were asked to bring in items that we had at home.
And then the piece behind you, as well, like it's another.
This is more or less like what I would do with an oil painting. This was more of a detailed painting instead of something really loose. So.
Do you have a huge library? Pretty much at this point, you must. You have 30 years of painting behind you.
I do.
And you sell your work.
Well, I've only sold a couple pieces, so yeah. I'd have to say I sold more floral pieces than I've ever sold paintings. So I'd have to put myself in the category of starving artist.
Okay. Yeah, but we all are. So you were an illustrator for?
I was a graphic designer, and I was trying to get into children's book illustration. And so I was going to New York twice a year for conferences, taking my work to publishers.
It's so difficult.
And I could work commercial graphic design, but I couldn't get into illustration. Right. And then finally, graphic design in Buffalo got really tough. So when I retired in June and July, there's a show down on the river called Riverwalk.
Okay.
And I went down to that by myself and just looked at the paintings, and that's where I met Jody. And I fell in love with her work. And I could see in her work the kinds of things I wanted to learn.
Right.
So I talked to her, and she said she had classes. So in September, I started taking.
How long ago was that?
That was 7.5 years ago.
So the quilts that you donate, that's really amazing.
Well, because I find that paintings have effects on people, but also quilts do. Quilts have an amazing effect on people. I've seen people, who really have no respect for art. It would never go to a gallery or whatever. And when you give them a quilt, it just changes them.
And you have one there, right?
This is an art quilt. So sometimes I do. This is from one of my photographs, and I have painted this picture large, but I zeroed in here with on the fabric, and so the thread is like my lines.
Okay.
I never make the same quilt twice, but these would be a comfort quilt. It's a size.
So this is one of the ones that you.
This is the one that somebody will ask for referral. When somebody asks me for a quilt, I try to find a little bit about the person.
What's a beautiful idea, honestly.
But if I have kids, that's where I had the problem. Like, what book do you put in for a kid, a small child?
Yeah, and what do you put on?
So my neighbor's a writer. She works for a publisher, and she did this on her own. And then she wrote it, and then she wanted me to illustrate it. And I said, no, I've been that route. Not going there anymore. So finally I broke down, and it took me a year, and I would bring them into Jody, but it doesn't talk about cancer. It doesn't talk about healing or anything. It just, what are you going through?
So now, Jody, real fast. So her influence on you, as far as a teacher, I mean, is there a Miyagi thing here where she's like guided you and pulled you through?
So I probably would not have done the book hadn't she
really
said, I think you can do it.
Wow. But you need people like that.
You do need people like that.
Teaching was now I'm painting. I'm painting I've got 4 classes. I'm painting 4 different paintings in every class every week. So I've got all of these beautiful artwork started, and I'm able to convey it to my people. And when they respond and it's positive.
Well, teaching is such a beautiful way of giving because it's teaching. and teaching and enabling and empowering and curating their skill and guiding them in a way that allows them to further their own space and their own journey. And that is, it's everything. It doesn't matter if it's mathematics, English, art, the fact that you can be a great teacher and influence these people in such a way. And I told you, I was blown away by the skill level here. They're already accomplished on their own, and yet you still, it's a great life example for anybody who, I think in this world, we kind of have this done mentality. Like, I'm at this level, I'm done.
I'm done.
You're never done.
Right.
As a human.
And you have to just keep jumping. I mean, I've got people, most of my people, a lot of my people are older people. Some start in their 70s, and they're just willing to be open to it. And that's all you have to do is let it in. And
right.